Hi guys. Here we are again. This is Sunday. This is Sunday, the afternoon of 12/3/2017. And I'm hopefully going to be finishing the skin afternoon on my hand of 12/3 because my hand is currently skinless. And I'm hopefully going to be finishing the skin on my hand because my hand is currently skinless. Hey, so last time I was talking about how I'm running out of clay. I mixed some different clay brands. Came up with a very similar color when it's unbaked. You can see how similar that is. Different clay. MB, hello from the UK. I mean, hello to the UK from me in the USA. When it's unbaked. So when I use this on the palm, and this is unsurprising, and it's going to be good to point out for the tutorial. You can see that when it's baked, it turned out a lot lighter, even though when it's unbaked, it's practically the same. And the reason for that is because I was mixing in this white into this other clay to get it to be the same lightness. It turned out a lot lighter, even though when it's unbaked. Damon, hello. My Needful Things, hello. Dottie Burke, welcome, welcome. Clay to get it to be the same. MB says my voice is echoing. Let me figure out why that is happening. Damon, hello. Desktop audio. Needful Things, hello. Input Dottie Burke. Oh, my art cam. Okay, tell me if that fixed it. What was that? Oh, okay, right. So this turned out light. You can see there's parts where it's not light in there. It matches the skin really well because that was some of the leftover actually skin poking through. But the white itself is opaque, unlike the skin color, which is only 70 or 80% opaque. And so when it bakes out, the opacity gives it this lighter tone. So anyway, what that means is this is all I have to cover the top of the hand. So this is going to be very tricky because I definitely want to match the skin tone on top. I didn't care about so much on the palm because it's going to be covered in dust and filth anyway. So I'm probably going to be doing a very thin layer of this clay that I have more of, the same I used on the palm, and then try to skin that very, very thinly with this more translucent stuff. Rain Carter, why are you not surprised that I like metal? Yeah, you would look at me and you would think, that's a guy who likes classical flamenco jazz. That's what you would think, right? Or like Kenny G. But no, I do like metal. Oh, actually that reminds me. Speaking of metal, and Dottie, you are here, good. So I was listening to this fantastic band, Epicenter, featuring Dottie's son, Mr. Ryan Burke. There he is, smiling big. So Dottie, you asked me for a favorite song last time. I said I'd only listen to the album a time and a half. Now I'm on 2.5 times, and I still can't tell you an answer because all the songs apparently are really good. It's really hard to pick a favorite song when all the songs are good. You can't like narrow it down, which means one of two things: either they recorded a buttload of songs to begin with and like just made a bunch of B-sides, excised them and just had the really good songs on the album, or they're just like mega talented. So I'll leave it up to Dottie to figure that out. Damon, you got your Epicenter CD today? Hope you enjoyed it as much as I do. Oh, and I was going to tell you, Dottie, to give this link, copy it down here, copy that link and send that to your son. This is an album that I loved when I was his age, which was back in the early 90s, which has a lot of the same influences that Epicenter has. So he may enjoy it. I don't know. They may be total crap. very subjective. But I loved them when I was his age. I still love them. Okay. Oh, the other thing I was kind of tooling around on were the little bits that are going to go on the hand here for the hand helmet, the middle finger helmet. It's going to be like that. And I think I'm just going to set this to the side for a while. Treasure Hunter, hello to Canada. Hope you got a chance to start on my book. If not, that's okay, no pressure. But like I said, I'm very excited for beta readers to give me some feedback before I publish it, because it'd be great to fix any obvious glaring errors that other perspectives may shed on it before I publish it. That'd be super cool. Yeah, Dottie, let me know if you likes it. I'm curious, because I don't know how out of touch I am. One thing I forgot to do was I was gonna put like a brand on the palm. That's my little JF logo, my Josh Foreman logo, like a magical brand. And I forgot to put it on, but I think I can just put it on as like a raised scar. I mean, brands and burns usually raise up off the skin anyway, so. I'm not sure if I want to put that on first. I feel like as I'm doing the top, my fingers are naturally going to go in here and squash it if I do. Treasure Hunter, you've started and enjoying it so far. Great. Great, great. I'm getting really close to a point where I'll be starting to actually put the illustrations in that Google Doc that I'm sharing around, so. Okay, well I guess I can just start right now by laying down the undercoat. This would be the layer of kind of soft tissue, a little bit of fatty tissue under the outside part of the skin. That I'm not sure, is that the epidermis, or is all of the skin the epidermis? Not sure. And I'm gonna put it on in little patches, because I found that if you put it on like a big old thing like this, it tends to end up sliding around. So it takes a little longer, but you get better results if you kind of push it on in littler patches. Helps it work into the surface below it better. Treasure Hunter said, I was wondering about that. I thought maybe my copy just didn't work right because I could not see the images. Yeah, I haven't put them in yet. I'll probably be putting them up on my website too, with like references to what they're to, so if you have read it, you can just go back and quickly see like pictures of the stuff you've already read. Should probably be recording some of this. Rain says, say, since you're making props, are you a fan of Adam Savage's Tested channel too? Because I love that channel. Yeah, actually I was just watching a video yesterday, I guess it was Friday. On there they did like a cut off zombie hand, and they were painting. I was looking at it specifically to see what colors they were using to paint the silicone hand that they made. because I'm going to be painting this hand in very much the same way, because they made one out of silicon, so it was all just one, you know, like neutral color, and then the methods that they go through to like add the coloring. You know, I've done that kind of paint job before, but it's always good to refresh and see how other people do it. So I enjoy that channel. A lot of the videos are a little frustrating to me because they're clearly, their channel is aimed at a pretty broad audience, so they don't go into as much detail as I'd like. They tend to brush over stuff that non-artists would find boring. But the hand one I saw was really pretty thorough. It was pretty good. Victoria Black, hello! You're busy playing Guild Wars 2. How dare you? No, I encourage people to play Guild Wars 2. It's a good game. Been working on Guild Wars games for the last 14 years, so obviously something about it keeps me around. Treasure Hunter says, looks like it's warmer in the garage today. A little bit. Are you in a better state of mind since the last video where you seemed to suggest you were struggling with the sculpt? I'm like 20% better. I would have been 50% better. I got set back by a game I'm playing called The Flame in the Flood on my Nintendo Switch. It's like a survival game, a roguelike survival game, so when you die you lose a lot of progress. And I'm at this stage where they set you back to like the last save point, which is probably a couple hours of progress. And I've died about 4 or 5 times in the same stretch of river. And just every time I feel like it's so arbitrary how I've died. It's getting really frustrating. And so this morning, usually when I wake up, I play for about 10 minutes just to, it gets my brain kick-started. Otherwise, I'm absolutely miserable when I get out of bed. But yeah, I was walking behind a building. Okay, so you can't see yourself when you're behind a building because it's like a isometric view. And there's a few big buildings here and there. And so when there's a big building, the camera is on one side of the building and your little character is on the other side of the building. Like this. Okay, here's the building. Here's my little character. I'm like, I'm going to go over here. And then suddenly, snake bite. And there's no way I could have seen that snake. They make loud sounds. I didn't hear the sound of the snake this time. And so I'm limping out from behind the building. I'm like, I got to get back to my raft where I've got my poison cure. And then suddenly wolves come out, and I'm limping and slow, and then the wolf kills me in like 3 seconds. And it's just like, which it's not great when a game has the power to put you in such a bad state of mind or mood that it carries over into the rest of your life. It's a precarious balance being a gamer, let me tell you. If you invest too little in your game and you're emotionally detached from it, then obviously you're missing a big point of playing a game. But then in this case, it's like, well, now I'm just in a kind of a grumpy, crappy mood. But man, I love roguelikes so much. And that's just a part of the genre, is that you lose everything. Like, what you're gaining is not like what is the word? You're not gaining in-game progress when you're playing. You're gaining experience that will help you in your next playthrough. Maybe what's frustrating about this game is that because it only puts you back to like several miles back, like you're going on a raft down a river and then stopping at points where you get off and you collect supplies and you get back on your raft, and so it's that kind of loop. And man, when it sets you back several miles, if it just reset if it just died, if you were just done like FTL or Spelunky or something like that, you're like, all right, well, time to start a fresh run. But because it sets you back only a third of the way or whatever, I feel like that's maybe the worst of both worlds for some reason. I don't know. It's complicated. Making games is hard, you guys. But overall, I'm still playing it, so I must be enjoying it. Treasure Hunter says 20% is better than nothing. Yes, it is. I find games so frustrating for that reason, which is why I do not play them. Understandable. Rain says, you know how those jumping puzzles make... Okay, now you know how those jumping puzzles you made feel. Oh, I know how they feel. I played them all. Without great struggle, you do not get great sense of accomplishment. So let me tell you, once I get to the end of this river, if there is an end to this game, I'm gonna feel amazing. Now, will it offset all the crappy, you know, grumpy moods that I've been through over the past however long I've been playing the game? That's a good quality of life question to ask yourself, I suppose. And we're probably always making those kind of evaluations subconsciously as we're playing games. That's why rage quitting happens, right? It's like, this is just not worth it. One thing that's helped me in gaming in general, like when I started making difficult jumping puzzles, I decided that I really needed to experience what I did as a kid, like those old school, super hard, you know, just ridiculously hard games, to make sure that I wasn't like misremembering the emotional landscape that they create as you play. So I forced myself to beat several of those games, and where was I going with that? What was the last thing you said? Oh, how you feel when you play those games, right? So just to make sure that I wasn't misrepresenting my my past, the references that I was making with those jumps, and the kind of emotional journey that they put you on, if you buy into them. And the thing that I learned was that, so as a kid when I played those, a lot of the reason that I kept at it was because the selection of games that I had to play was so limited that it was kind of a force of necessity to just keep playing the same thing over and over and over. Plus, you know, as a kid, you don't have as many responsibilities. There's not as big an opportunity cost. As an adult playing those games, what I found was that when I stopped putting myself in the headspace of loss and failure when I died, but rather taking death as a learning opportunity, as stepping away from it dispassionately and saying, okay, so this is a puzzle, and I just learned something by this death. What did I learn? What can I apply to my next, you know, the next time I respawn and hit this point again? And in games where you can do that and you can say, okay, I learned X and now I'm going to execute in a different way, those are the games that feel awesome and give you that that kind of boost to push through it to get to that plateau, not plateau, that peak, whatever, that emotional high you get when you've successfully outsmarted a system or figured out a puzzle. So yeah, it all comes down to how you perceive your death in a game, your failure in a game. Is it a failure, or is it actually a learning experience, I guess? And it's tricky as a game designer because that threshold is going to be different for different people. Like, some people just cannot perceive that there was anything they could do. And those are the games that get frustrating and make you rage quit, is you feel like the game is cheap, like there was nothing you could actually do. Which is which is the funniness of, to me, and the people who get it, what makes Tribulation Mode and Super Adventure Box fun is the fact that it is like purposefully trolling and unfair. Like, in a meta sense, in a metagame sense, you are actually learning, but there's nothing that forecasts what will kill you. So it's not like you made a mistake and you died when you're first playing through the maps in Tribulation Mode. It's like a funny wink to that old school feeling of like, oh, there's no way I could have avoided that. And some people like that, and some people hate that, and that's why there are other modes. Okay, so I think I've... oh, missed a spot. I think I've got most of the under part of the skin, and I can probably cover this amount of surface with this amount of clay. I hope. We'll see. Treasure Hunter says, Josh, what are the gold thumbtacks on the fingers for? Are they decoration or part of the process of the build? So they are, they're going to be for these jewels. The fictional way that this thing gets driven around is with this guy on top, and this guy has a little hand, like power glove controller, that's got little red jewels on all the finger bits, and then each jewel is associated with one of these. So it's both decoration and kind of functional visual storytelling. Just showing this thing is not mind controlled or, you know, controlled by some just mysterious magical system, but an explained magical system. I always prefer that. I'm so nervous to start putting the final skin layer on. I'm gonna clean my hands really well. Rain says, is that from a franchise or did you come up with the design? Yeah, that's an old design I came up with long time ago. We were pitching ideas at a company I worked at. This was 16, 17 years ago. I made this concept of there's these wizard guys, and they go and they slay a giant, they cut off the hand, and then magically enchant the hand, and that's their mount, and then it's like they joust each other. So it was a game idea. Alright, I'm gonna roll my hands on my filth ball. A filth ball is a piece of clay that you have specifically for getting all the fibers and oils and gunk and stuff off your hands before you handle your pristine clay that you don't want dust and stuff on, because it's going to be the final surface of the piece. If I have enough left over, I'm probably going to bring it down onto this part of the palm, because the differentiation of color on a palm starts around where the it's like a slightly different can't remember the name of it, but the type of skin, it gets a little harder, a little, I don't know, probably just through usage. The back of the hand is usually softer and a little darker than the palm. Rain says, that is such a freaking awesome idea, riding necrotic giant hands into battle. Ever pitch something similar to that to Arena Net? No. Guild Wars is, I don't think that really fits into the Guild Wars franchise, and thus far that's what ArenaNet is Guild Wars, so there's not much of a point of pitching that. All of my wacky ideas I've pitched have pretty much gone through Super Adventure Box, although I guess, well, there's other wacky ideas I put in there, like the whole Codicus maze thing. That was all my design, like the crazy basement that you go into that has the weird faces on the wall and the riddles you have to solve to get to them. Treasure said, what did you call that piece of clay you rubbed your hands with? Oh, I called it a filth ball. That is my official name for it. I don't know if other artists have an official name for it, but that's mine. I'm walking this tightrope right now of trying to make sure I'm covering this whole surface and overlapping, because I don't want to end up doing what I ended up doing here, where you can see there's two clearly different tones and opacities of the clay. This is all I have left. Ah. Paradusk says, hardened skin is called a callus. Yeah, I don't know if there's something in that spectrum between soft skin and a callus. Like a callus is kind of a localized thing. Like your whole palm is not a callus, but it is slightly harder than your because, you know, it gets more use, I imagine. I don't know if the skin itself is actually, like, from the womb, if it's tougher or not, or if that happens because it gets used so much. I suppose a giant necrotic hand could be an interesting mount skin for Guild Wars. If I should bring it up as an idea, although speaking of mount skins, did you if any of you guys are following my Facebook page, the Breath of Life Art Studio Facebook page, I posted a link to my friend Kate. She put a bunch of her Guild Wars mounts and other creatures from the last expansion up on ArtStation, and wrote an article about creature design you guys would probably really enjoy, so you should go check it out if you haven't seen it already. Go find the Breath of Life Art Studio page. Actually, I think there's a link to it in the description of this video. I think I linked to it. Oh, actually, while I'm directing you guys around, well, suggesting you guys around, if any of you are so inclined, I would love it if you would go to my website and tell me if it's giving you an error, because I've been working with my internet service provider for a month now to figure out why it keeps giving this error saying my site is unsecured, because I had to pay extra to get the S at the end of the HTTP address, but whatever. There's all this technical stuff that had to be sorted out, and I was on the phone with them on Friday. Not on the phone, on chat or whatever, trying to get it hashed out. They tell me it's hashed out, but I never see the error myself because of, you know, I'm on there as an administrator or something. I don't know. If you go there and don't get an error, can you just let me know in the comments? Or if you do get an error, actually, that would be even more valuable. And by error, I mean like a warning that comes up that says, this site is insecure and may be doing malicious things to your computer. Don't worry, I'm not. There's no chance that my website is doing malicious things to your computer. The link to my website is also below, but it's also just breathoflifeart.com. Paradesk says the top of the hand just has less muscle, I think. Yes, that is probably true. Rain says, would have been a great skin for a spider mount. Yep. David says, sorry, making toffee while I watch. I want toffee. William, hey William, says, not getting an error on Chrome. Thank you so much for checking on that for me. Treasure Hunter said, just check, no error. Excellent. Glad to hear it. That was way harder than it should have been. Okay, so at this point I have technically covered all the skin with the right mix, but I only have this much left for adding any actual volume or, you know, veins and stuff like that, which is not good, but I'll have to do. Oh yeah, I was gonna do some different substances for blending the unbaked clay with the baked clay. So some people use Vaseline, some people use baby oil. I was using clay conditioner. The back here has nothing used, but the problem is because the clay is different translucency, it's really hard to judge how well it blended. Although you can see here, here's a blend that used the clay conditioner, and that surface is pretty flawless. Pretty flawless. William says you should be able to do it with an incognito version of any browser, I think. Oh, like, yeah, I forgot incognito mode. Okay, so on this, I should be having a tendon coming down from here to the thumb and here, and I do not have that represented. There is kind of a muscle bulge here, which maybe I can do just by pressing around it. Now that I've touched that paper, I gotta fondle my filth ball again. Excuse me while I fondle my filth ball. I also need to build this up quite a bit. Okay, well, one thing at a time. I'm getting all of these little bubbles on the surface because I was laying in those, you know, larger patches instead of doing it one little bit at a time. I think mostly because I'm so nervous about about running out. I was just trying to spread it as thin as possible. Ideally, I would be laying it on in thicker smaller patches. Paradusk says website is fine. It just didn't have the S in the HTTP. It didn't previously. It should now. I am paying extra, so it has the S. Okay, also, I need to reopen this wound. Make it look sufficiently wound-like. Like another jouster got his jousting rod like stuck in like that. That's what I'm trying to get that to look like. Anyone want to do me a favor and look up what a jousting stick is called so I can call it the right thing? Oh, yikes. Here's a big old patch that doesn't have the right clay over it yet. Oh god, this is so stressful. To be so close. Although I had an idea of putting a patch over part of it, like where the skin got ripped off too much and like a patch of different skin was put over it. Like I thought it'd be cool to put some, you know, African skin or something on part of it. But I decided against that a while ago just because I thought it was going to be too conceptually busy. Like it's already such a wacky idea. And there's so many elements going on, like all these decorations on the fingers, the little guy, the, you know, scratches and wounds, and the weird helmet, and the nails are going to be funny looking. So it's like having yet another thing, I feel like just makes it too busy and too much to digest in one piece. I was going to experiment and do Vaseline on other parts, but I changed my mind. I'm just going to do the stuff that I know works at this point. There's too many nerve-wracking things going on to be exploring other techniques at this point. Oops. So this clay conditioner should be rejuvenating the baked clay just a little bit, just enough so that where the uncured clay touches it, it should fuse really nicely. That is the theory. Damon says lance. Victoria says it's called a lance. Treasure Hunter says Norton prevents me from entering unsecure sites. It did not do it with your site. I wonder if other people are using security programs or Windows settings that block them. JD says what's up? What's up, JD? The usual. Making weird things. Listening to weird music, making weird things. That is what I do. Getting a little stressed out. But, you know, the stress should theoretically help me to remember next time. Mix 4 times more clay than you think you're going to need. If you're doing a specialized mix, Mix way more than you think you're going to need. Treasure says, do you ever do artwork with your son? Yeah. We used to sculpt together a lot. He's currently in a phase where he just wants to do record game footage and stitch it together to try to make interesting narratives. So he's doing a lot of video editing recently, but I've been teaching him how to do game creation assets and been showing him what I know about video production and stuff, so he can edit his Rust videos better. If you want to check him out, he also has a YouTube channel under Mr. Tree Stump. Okay, well, we've got the basic volumes, I think. I need more pronounced tendon for the finger here. I need more pronounced tendon to go down this way. Kind of meets at the first knuckle of the thumb there. You might be able to get that just by depressing the area around it rather than adding to it. I don't think I can get away with that for this. So, when you need to add a feature, you can either take your clay and add it on top, or you can dig under it and add material under it, which is longer and more annoying process. However, since I do not have enough clay, that is the long annoying process I'm going to have to do. And it definitely risks mixing in the bottom layer with the top layer. That's the biggest danger. So you end up with really funny looking skin there. But it is a risk that I have to take at this point. this part here, it actually dips down even further, so I'm going to add in more tendon to compensate. I'm making sure to press down here so that there's a clear differentiation between the right material, the wrong material, and then the right material again. So when I fold it back over, I make sure I'm not accidentally pinching any of the wrong clay up into the onto the surface. We close up the surgery site. Wouldn't it be cool if real skin worked like this? Although we'd probably get injured a lot easier if it did. Treasure says, well, I'm off to put up the Christmas tree. Have a good day, everyone. All right. Have fun with that. Dottie says, last batch of original Sculpey I got seems a little too hard. Would I use clay conditioner to soften it, or is that only used to blend cured with non-cured? No, a clay conditioner is specifically made, as far as I know, to soften clay that's a little too hard. So yeah, you want to mix a few drops in here and there, run it through a pasta roller, or, you know, squash it down with a pen or whatever to soften your clay. Did I say rolling pin or did I just say pin? I meant rolling pin. Alright, my tendon reinforced. I want to make sure the surface is pretty smooth and even before I add the veins. Otherwise, it just, once you add the veins, if you add it to a lumpy surface to begin with, it just starts looking like a mess. doesn't look real. William says, patching someone up then gets a whole different meaning. Yep. Just add a patch of clay to them. So I need some kind of wrinkles on this thumb here. I need more tissue there, so I'm going to do the same kind of procedure. And we need more volume here. Suaved says, dude, this feels weird. Just tuned in and the hand looks like it's real. You're just lifting the skin up made me jitter. Well, it's better than if the hand looked really fake. Add a little more mess before we close it up. Alright, I definitely want, like, this little webbing right here is so important to get this look right. I'm going to spend too much of this material to make sure I get that. I think what it comes down to is the veins on the surface are not going to be as raised as I wish they would be. But if I have the veins bigger, they're going to use too much of this material, and I won't have that, because that area really needs to be as translucent as the rest of the skin. If it's less translucent, it's really going to kill the illusion of skin. This little, like the connection here. So there's a muscle here, right? That you can see. You can see it illustrated here. Creates a bulge, and then there's like a little bit of divot there, and then the web of the skin here is pulled tight between them, but it's not pulled at a perfectly straight angle because there's other tissues and veins and stuff that kind of disrupt that. You know, if it was just a rubber flap or something, it would be pulled perfectly straight. But you want to start by making those kind of things perfectly straight, and then you go and add the disruptions to it. Keep finding little bits of dust stuck in it. Pretty close to my smooth arc that I need. I wish I had more clay so I can make it a little straighter, but I cannot. I cannot. Did not hit her. Did not. This tendon goes from here to here to be a little more pronounced. air bubble in there. So we need to put another, let's see, medium guy here for that bone, and then there'll be another one, right? Yeah, up there for this little bone. Oh, hi, Mark. If the opportunity cost for going to movies wasn't so high for me right now, I would be at the theater right now watching The Disaster Artist. But alas, the goals of my life would not occur if I went to see every movie that I wanted to in the theater. Trying to see how much of a actual, like from this angle, this part of my thumb is really flat, but here there's like a round bulge that should not be there. I think I'm going to go in and just add a little more clay in here to bring out the landmark of this knuckle better. I know I'm gonna get the different clays intermixing here. Not good. Oh hey, my internal monologue reminded me I was at my uncle's funeral yesterday, and one of my aunts gave me this. Can you guess what this is? So, when I lived in, are you ready for it? North Pole, Alaska, back in the early 90s, there was a place called the Santa Claus House, of course, in North Pole, Alaska. There's a place called the Santa Claus House. And I made a bunch of handmade polymer jewelry to sell there. And I also worked at a print shop for a while, so I made my own awesome labels with, look at that foil. That's so awesome. It's got my little JF, my original Josh Foreman logo. And maybe it's probably hard to tell in there, but those are little clown earrings, and I sent them to my aunt, and apparently she never wore them, and she was just clearing out her stuff. She's getting up there in age, and she was like, I wanna go through all this stuff before, you know, I die and my kids are going through it, and she thought I would like to have this, so it's super awesome. Came full circle. So that'll go in the Josh Foreman Museum at some point when I'm, you know, super rich and famous. Dottie says, time for me to duck out. I'm off to my weekly visit with my mom. Thanks for the stream. I'll catch you all on Wednesday. Great. See you, Dottie. Have fun. Tell your mom hi for me. Alright, I think I'm ready to add the veins with this much clay. I guess I'll have to hint at most of the veins with paint and color rather than actually. And if I look at it, I can see that, like in my case, I've only got like this little shape that actually is dimensional on my skin, so I'll just have to do it that way. Ancient relics, that's right. Okay, gonna fondle my filth ball. Break this into 2 pieces. I know I'm gonna need more material for these knuckles. That's why I'm really white knuckled right now. Oh, actually, before I add these, let me get my other camera situated. Focus. Wash my hands again because I touched stuff in the apparatus, which is covered with dust. Okay. Record. Sound syncing. Okay. Where was I? Veins. Okay. Filth ball again. Rain says, yeah, I'm going to go too. It was a cool stream. Thanks for interacting with us, Josh. Look forward to the next stream. Awesome. Hope to see you there. Aiden says, are the fingers sculpted or are they castings? They look great. They are 100% sculpted. Thank you for asking. Always nice question to be asked. Is that like real or did you make it? Okay. That will have to be the extent of the actual dimensional veins. Now to blend them in, I'm going to use a soft tool. It's always tricky doing veins over unbaked tendons, because then when you're, as you can see, as I'm blending the vein down, it's disrupting the flow of the tendon. So you got to go back and like compensate, massage it back and forth. David says, this song goes on forever! OFC, it ends once I say something. Yeah, that's how this music works, man. Do you comply? Says, have you seen Thor Ragnarok? I totally loved it. Yeah, it's fun. I was talking to my cousin yesterday about the trajectory of superhero movies over the past couple decades. It's interesting how back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, superhero movies were typically like really cheesy, and it was like the late 90s, early 2000s where they were allowed to be taken somewhat seriously with like the X-Men and Spider-Man movie, the Batmans, and then they started being taken, maybe, I guess seriously isn't the right word, but the tone of being like dark and gritty seemed to be what was default then for superhero movies. And then in the past, like 3 or 4 years, maybe Guardians of the Galaxy was the one that really started breaking out of that. I think that was before Ant-Man, right? And got to the point where they can start adding comedic elements back in without treating the subject matter itself as being just silly and cheesy. And so I think Marvel specifically, the Marvel movies, DC movies, have a serious tone problem, where they just kind of don't know what they want to be. Probably because Zack Snyder is really good at making individual set pieces and scenes, and really bad at putting them together in ways that make it a coherent film. But yeah, Marvel's been... actually, there was a period for about 4 or 5 years where... probably less than that, 2 or 3 years, where I was pretty much done with superhero movies. But Marvel brought it back enough to the point where I'm like, okay, these are still entertaining enough to see in the theater. So I've probably seen pretty much every Marvel movie that has come out, despite the fact that I'm on the verge of just being done with the genre in general. But like Deadpool was definitely a breath of fresh air, and then Guardians of the Galaxy, and then they've really been leaning into that with Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and Thor Ragnarok, where it's just been super colorful, super fun and funny. Yeah, it's good. I don't know how many ways they're gonna find to keep to keep that franchise fresh. It's got to be quite a challenge. Oh, that is quite a hole there. I think I'm just gonna call this a wound. I don't want to spin the clay to try to fix that right now. Let's say the lance like hit that, bounced off, and then like jammed in there. That's the story I'm telling. I'm sticking to it. David says, well, I thought I was done. My ears are bleeding. Oh no. The dark wave has become too much for you, huh? Alright. Well, I don't have a problem with skipping on to something else. Let's see. Let's go past call. We'll go folksy. How about that? And once it's at this stage where it's mostly blended in, but it's still kind of rough, that's when it's nice to go in with a paintbrush, because that has, you know, hundreds of soft little fingers palpating it rather than like one big blunt one. So you can get a lot smoother in there, but they're very weak little fingers, so they're not so good for blending in it originally, but they're great for smoothing it down and getting a nice flow after it's been blended in. Okay, if I have any left, I'll definitely throw in another vein somewhere, but I'm 99.9% certain I'm not going to have any extra. This brush has some paint gunk in the base of the bristles, so when I push hard I end up with these little poop smears, which is not ideal, unless you're making like a poop monster. But this is not a poop monster. Sorry to disappoint you, all you poop monster aficionados. I was really hoping that was the direction I was going. I'm not. Maybe next time. Looks like that brush dropped a lot of little bits of crap. It's a shame because it's got like the perfect consistency of bristles. I just need to be careful not to press really hard with it. Alright, so I'm gonna do these knuckles. I'm speaking just of volumes right now, not of detailing. I'm still not quite ready to take it to the detailing stage. Miguel says, hey Josh, is part 8 of Colossus going to be out this month? I don't know. The Colossus stuff, basically, you know, I finished the Colossus. I just have over 1,000 hours of video I need to go through and edit to get it out there. And so I kind of do that in the background between when I've got stuff to edit for my tutorials. And so it really just depends on how fast my tutorial editing comes along, whether or not I'm going to have a tutorial out on the 1st of the month or a Colossus thing. As it progresses, there's going to be it's going to be coming out faster because it's less of me talking about stuff and more of me just doing the same thing a lot. And so it'll be a lot of just sped up footage, and I'll probably be releasing those like on the 15th of the month. That's my big hope, is that I'll have tutorials every 1st and Colossi videos every 15th. I got a lot of other projects that are waiting on getting that Colossus stuff finished. So I'm really hoping to get it done sooner rather than later. Uh-oh. What happened? What happened to my final piece? Oh, here it is. This is all I have left. I gotta do Knuckles. Oh god. Okay, well, let's see if I can stretch this out a little more. Alright. Got some better volume there. That's good. For this one, I think I really just need kind of a little more of this tendon showing. Then I need actual muscle or knuckle bulge, because most of the knuckle bone is under the folded skin around here. So. Ras says, that is the title on my business card. You'll have to tell me what I said that was, or what was said that's the title on your business card. Aiden says, the fingernails look mighty painful. Actually, the fingernails, this is the bed of the fingernails. I'm going to show you on this test piece. The fingernails are going to look more like this. This. But you can see the subtle like translucency, or you can see this texture going on underneath there that gives it that look. So. Miguel says, sounds good, I really enjoy the series. Good. Yeah, this last episode was pretty exciting to, like, the progress, you know, where it went from just being a skeleton to, like, really filled out in one episode is pretty exciting. Slows down quite a bit after that from a like apparent progress perspective, but I think it'll still go relatively fast because it's just going to be a lot of fast forwarded footage. Like the armor is what took 90% of the time on the Colossus because it's so architectural and so detailed. Oh my god, years and years, you guys. That footage that you're seeing in the last episode was like 5 years ago, like literally 5 years ago. So my cute little son that you see in the background in some of those shots, he's 18 now. It's hilarious. Poop aficionado. That's what's on your business card? Okay. I always thought something smelled funny about you. It would be a good business card for a dog. Okay, this knuckle here I definitely feel like needs to be pretty pronounced because that's got a nice, it's a great landmark, and the way it is now it's just really like flaccid and weird. It doesn't make sense. This would be so much easier if I could just take this clay and go blob. Oh my gosh, so much easier. You really stink up the place. Yep, yep. It's alright. We love all kinds of people here on the Josh Foreman YouTube channel. Alright, so knuckles have this kind of U-shaped bow to them. So there's a bump here, I need another bump here. William says, can smell a bone from a mile away. I think only Kid Rock can do that. Damon says, I'm glad you tolerate my crappy demeanor. Aiden says, personally I can only smell bones from half a kilometer away. Oh, are you Canadian or British or something? Sorry if you already said where you're from. Takes me a while to learn these things. I have co-workers that I've worked with for 14 years and I still forget their names regularly. It's like face blindness for names.
Cannot express the feeling as I sit and watch as the things all around me. How can
Is this? No, that's baked sculpting. Okay, good.
how they never seen a tiny sparrow.
Aiden says, I'm from Virginia. I just like the word kilometer more than the word mile. Okay, but do you say kilometer or kilometer? Because I like the word kilometer, but apparently that's not how most people in the world say it. They say kilometer, which just sounds ridiculous to me. But I don't want to impose my Western values on someone else's metric system. So this tendon goes between the U on this knuckle bone which means there's a little bit of divots there. They'll mostly be wiped out by, or not wiped out, but obscured by the wrinkles on there. But William says, I'm Dutch. I say things differently anyway. Ah. Alright. Probably need a little more kind of a secondary ripple from this really extended finger. Aiden says, I thought it was Kalami Tyler. Nope. No, I hear it said kilometer, and whenever I read it in my head, I say kilometer, because it just flows better that way. But if you think about it, there's like centimeter, right? And you don't say centimeter or centimeter. So I guess that's the thinking behind it. It's kind of like the Caribbean versus Caribbean. I've always preferred Caribbean, but then Pirates of the Caribbean got really famous, and now everyone says Caribbean. We have everything basically in place. I think so. I think I'm ready to start adding texture. This guy. Which should I use this to give it a nice little poochy thing around it, or should I just leave it? I know I'm gonna end up needing that for something. This connection here is really kind of gross right now. Let's take care of that. Kylo Ren meter. That's a good one, Damon. The Kylo Ren meter. really need some... I'm gonna have to use the last of that for this. This joint is just ridiculous. It really needs to get a lot of this pillowy poochiness there that it does not have. Which I can kind of hint at just by displacing some of this, but I'm not going to be able to get what I really need. Kylometeor. Okay. So I'll officially say it from now on. Don't even have enough to give a proper roll all around here, so I'm going to have to kind of break it up, I think. Put just a ripple here. Desperately need more here. I'm really compromising the sculpture in order to get the surface right. But if this wasn't for a tutorial specifically about doing you know, a translucent surface treatment, I would just be like, screw it, I'm just gonna sculpt it right and just paint the whole thing with opaque paints, but it's not what I can do. I'm going to have a compromised statue, but it's one of those things where, like, I don't know, it's 90% of the way there. Most people won't feel, when they look at it, won't see all the lack of realism that I was hoping to achieve. They'll just see something that looks really cool and be like, wow, that looks really cool. And so I'm just remind myself of that. And next time I will learn my lesson and mix a lot more clay.
a ruler, a conqueror, a saint. Someone to give me what I wanted. Am I finding out too late? And I'm crying, trying to find. Can you please help me? As I stood, surrounded by the mass, I couldn't control the urge as I shouted, "Give us Barabbas!" Then you were gone. I doubted and didn't believe that you'd been seen again. As the tears streamed down my face, I dug deep
Well,
in your
not good, but good enough given the constraints that I've given myself. That I accidentally have given myself and purposefully refuse to compromise on. Because, I don't know, I could just start over for the third time, but I have too many other things I need to do. Before I forget, I'll just dab these little guys in, just so it's easy to drill the little holes I'm going to need to drill later. Damon says time for work later all. See ya. Sorry you have to work on a Sunday. Alright. Time for texture. I think it's time for texture. See how much my texturing obscures my poor sculpting. Alright, let's start with going against the grain, against the main flow of the wrinkles that I want. Because the texture on the hand, on the back of the hand, is really pretty smooth for most people. It means I'm pressing really lightly, and I'm going to use just a lot of lines, of little lines. If you use fewer, deeper lines, that's how you get more craggy, aged look. Which if I do another one of these hands, I would definitely, you know, do something to make it seem like a very different kind of giant, different hand. I'd probably do an African looking hand, like an older one or something. It'd be pretty cool. And like a really different looking hand wizard driving it. Eden says, what are everyone's thoughts on Berserk 2017? I'm not sure what that is. Are you talking about the manga? Are they making a movie or a show or something? Or a game? My only real experience with Berserk is the Dreamcast game. It came out in like 2001 or something like that. It was a very creepy game. And you had a massive sword, and you were stuck in a lot of really tight corridors quite often, where you couldn't really swing your sword. It would like bounce off the walls. I think there were other weapons you could also use in those situations. I just remember accidentally banging my massive sword off the wall a lot. Aiden says the reboot of the '97 anime, and a lot of people are adverse to the new animation style. Ah. There are very few animes that I've seen that I like. I might like that one. If it doesn't have the simpering, whimpering females and love triangles where there's like 3 women all fawning after the main clueless character, I might be able to get into it. I really wanted to like Sword Art Online, but man, that just like super obvious pandering, adolescent male fantasy fulfillment was just too painful for me. Oh, sorry, I'm off camera a lot, aren't I? Here, the camera where I'm actually looking. We made it 3D instead of 2D. Oh. I guess since I'm not a huge anime aficionado, that probably wouldn't bother me at all.
Meeting came slowly to an end. Thought of his advice and the things he said. Knew he was right, he had always been before. Ever since
In
that
general,
day that
I hear a lot of people very displeased with the treatment of their favorite anime franchises, how they're getting updated. I know most people hated the Death Note live action movie that was on Netflix, and the Ghost in the Shell live action movie was largely panned.
slowly got up and took a walk outside.
I would love to see a live action Spirited Away movie.
So dark, I could hear his words echo in my heart.
Until I actually saw it, and then I'd be like, oh, that's why people hate seeing their favorite things translated into other forms.
The sky's the limit when you trust in me. This world is ending, it's sad, but it's true. Finding you in the ones and let them see too. The love of the ages.
Captain Gaia says you should try Claymore. Aiden says, apart from Berserk, the only anime I've liked was Full Metal Alchemist. Captain says that film was not Death Note, only the name was correct. Yeah, that's what I hear. Yeah, I don't know why, you know, if they're gonna change something that much, like, just make something different. Call it something different. Like, you know, if you're going to call something, you know, you're going to use the brand because you think there's a built-in fan base for it, but you also know you're going to change it so much that they're going to be upset by the changes. Why? Why do you do that? You've alienated a fan base for no reason, and you haven't gained anything from it. I suppose because the decision to use the IP is made by different people than the artists that they contract to actually, you know, produce the content, who may or may not care about the IP. Which is why I will never option my books to Hollywood. I'm waiting for the tools to get to the point where me and my own small team can produce our own Game of Thrones quality series based in my world. So that'll be probably a decade or two out, but that's okay. It just gives me time to make sure my stories are the best they can possibly be. I got this step, which is getting the kind of the core underline texture where I want it. Now I'm going to smooth it down and probably lose about 50% of it or more, which is fine. I just want a subtle breakup of the smooth surface. Pretty good. Now I'm going to go in with my really fine scraper. It's just thin little wires. And adding just the micro breakup of the surface. Dottie says, "Hey Josh, I just got to my mom's house. I'm trying to explain to her what you are doing. Could you show the wizard that sits on the top of the hand so she can see it?" Yes, I can. Here we go. So, this is the hand. There we go. Here's the hand. And this little guy here, this is a hand wizard. As you can see, he has this magical glove that has these little jewels on it. And these jewels control magical jewels that are on the wizard, or the giant hand. So I'll show you what that's going to look like. There's going to be all these little jewels all over the hands that match the jewels on the wizard's glove. And then the wizard sits on the top like a chariot driver. And let's see if I can get that brighter for you. Yeah. So he rides around and challenges other hand wizards to a duel, and he uses his jousting rod. There's a word for that. Lance. He uses his lance to fight them. So that's the big picture. Dottie's mom. What's your mom's name so I can say hi? And right now I'm doing the fine little detail on the surface skin to make it look realistic. I'm using this little scrapey tool. Her name is Muriel. Thanks for showing it to her. I couldn't explain it to her as well as you can. Yeah, it's pretty hard to explain. It's a very weird thing. Hello, Muriel. Thanks for watching. You must have done a very good job raising your daughter because she is delightful, and so is your grandchild. Trying to get this little poochy part of the hand right. The general flow, it goes up like this. I think I need this little do a little more defined lines here and there. Happy little defined lines. I'm going to add some little pores here that if I choose to, I can put some some hairs in there. See, I have some hairs on my hand there, so. And since this is pretty much a reproduction of my own hand, I figure I might as well get the hair right too. And then to fade out those pores, I'm just very gently tapping around it. Not deep enough to make actual little divots, but just to break it up in the same kind of way those pores have broken up that area. I also want to do a little more defined lines around the knuckles, so that's where skin gets pinched and folded over and over again, so the lines tend to be a little deeper there. These lines kind of go with the general flow of the skin. Try to keep them pretty irregular. You don't want to have, you know, every centimeter or something another defined line. So like there's kind of one there, kind of one there. So I want to not put one there. I want to put a little space and then have it there. Going back in with my fine scraper, and then just kind of mimicking what I did with the thicker one to make sure that it's incorporated into the general flow of the skin cells. Alright, I think it is time for fingernails. Get these little guys on. Which is tricky because it's like stuck to the glass. Oh, there we go. Alright, I need to change the SD card on my camera. Uno momento. And find my translucent clay again. Here it is. And since I touched things, I need to wipe my hands off again and again and again. Recording. Okay, I'm going to clap for a sound sync. Oh, and I reached back and moved my shirt, which means I probably got lint on my fingers again. Okay. Now for real. Okay. This is, oh boy, I wish I knew the name brand of this. I'll have to put it on later. Did you guys know that this is the date for when the Sculpey was made? The first number is the year that it was made. So this was a 2014 vintage. A very good year for Sculpey. I'm joking, there's no particularly good years for Sculpey. It just means it's, let's see, 2014, 15, 16, 17, it's almost 18, right? So this is almost 4 years old. Could be 4 years old. So it takes a little bit of work to get it into a good workable state. This is one of those times where I could get up and go get my clay squasher machine, my never need machine, and make short work of this. But that would require getting up and moving and going over there. So instead I'm just wasting time and hurting my fingers and thumbs doing it myself. I think the human brain in general tries to keep you in one mode at a time. And getting up and cleaning it and making the space for it would knock me out of the flow of what I'm doing. So instead, I just hurt myself doing this. Okay. So because this is translucent, it's going to see some of this cool gnarly texture I put back there. In case anyone missed it, here's my test of the type of nails that I'm going to be doing. So you can see the texture under there a little bit through the translucency. It's only slightly translucent, but just enough. So I'm making sure to press it into the nail bed really well. And I shaped these nail beds. I gave them this this cloven hoof type of shape to evoke a steed. Although, I mean, horses don't have cloven hooves, right? But animals in general. I guess I'm trying to evoke an animalistic feeling, and I think that is gotten across better with these hoof-like nails. And underneath, I'm not sure what I want to do with that. Like, I could just leave it going out like that. That's probably what I should do. Just leave it sticking out. Although I do want to continue the clovenness all the way down. Which is harder to do when it's hanging off because it doesn't have the same support down there. And the nice thing about doing this in a two-part procedure where I have this baked texture underneath is this is a primarily horizontally banded look. And now I can go in and sculpt on a vertically banded look. You know, you can see on my thumbnail here, it's got those ridges that run downward. So I get both. I get the very subtle horizontal from the clay underneath, and I get the more surface level, easily perceived vertical lines above it. And if this gets too opaque and chunky down here, after it's baked, I can go in and just kind of carve that out carefully, I think. Actually, here's a good way to, let me test it real quick. And this piece I already did. So you can see it got kind of squashed in the oven there. So if I take an X-Acto knife, which is where? Here. Is it fairly easy to carve that away without, yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure that it wouldn't like chip through everything. It looks like it's carved pretty well, so I shouldn't have a problem doing that. Okay, I'm trying to think logistically now. Do I want to put the nail here, just go along there, or do I need to put them in a place where my finger's not going to accidentally crush them as I'm doing the other one? So as I'm doing here, my hand can hold it like this. It's fine. Yeah, it looks like it doesn't matter. Oh, that reminds me, one thing I wanted to try to get was this little cuticle thing at the base of the nail. So to do that, I'm just gonna gently push up on the edges. I should have done that before I put the striations in. But I definitely want them to be ragged, since I don't think this disembodied hand gets manicures very often. I mean, the hand wizard who rides him probably has to clip his nails from time to time, but I don't know that he's worried about the aesthetics of the cuticles. Looks like another thing I didn't think through well enough was having this, the arch of the nail bed here being one rounded arch, and then having this kind of double hump of the nail going up into it. That doesn't make perfect sense. So I could kind of blend the bifurcation out as it gets closer to the arch there. Okay, now for Mr. Long Nose Middle Fingernail. Yeah, that is not a good shape right there. Let's see if I can displace some of the clay that's under here over there to make it feel better. Because it should not start tapering until after it's left the nail bed. Just now occurred to me something cool I could have done was taken some of my translucent and mixed a tiny bit of yellow in with it, and then done some like striations in there. But I can also probably get the same effect with paint when I do the paint layer with very translucent paint, not opaque paint. See how his little steed helmet looks on him now. I think this nose guard needs to bend down quite a bit, so I don't want the nail to bend up to fit the helmet. I want the helmet to be made to fit the nail. Not sure how. I'm getting a lot of... Oh, I know how. I was touching those black helmet pieces. I got little tiny particulates all over my fingers, and now they're all in the nail. Fortunately, I want these nails to be ugly and chipped up anyway, so... Thought it might be cool to put little indents where the eyes, the eyes would ostensibly be, which would be around here, here. So you can kind of give it a little indication. And maybe there's some kind of intelligence behind this this hand beast. what I'm kind of wishing I would have done was, see how I stopped the bed of the nail there. I could have had the under structure extend out further so that the nail could have rested against it, and then after I sculpted the nail out how I wanted it, I could have carved off that part of the nail bed, and then I wouldn't have to contend with this part where it gets kind of weird and thicker coming off the end. Could have stayed consistently, the thickness of it would have been consistent all the way through. Keep seeing little things up on the skin texture on the hand that are bugging me. Places where all 4 of these little tines make a a like a consistent pattern, like an S pattern or whatever, really kind of breaks the illusion. So I have to break that up by crossing over it or kind of smudging it out a little bit. In general, just doing skin texture over veins is super obnoxious because you usually have to go in by hand and touch up most of the places where the wrinkles go over it. Just doing a quick brush over of these with a little bit of alcohol to rub off any obvious little chunks that need to go. Alright. The only other thing I wanted to do was little scar tissue, or the brand, magical brand on the bottom. So I think I'll mix the leftovers of my translucent. With a little bit of a darker skin stuff. I can't remember what this is, but it doesn't really matter. It should stand out against the flesh that's there pretty well. I can do it with just kind of a little snake of material. Start with this circle. basically trying to rough out my logo in blistered skin right now, and then I'll make it nicer once I get it on the surface. That's gonna rough out. Scoop it up like a pancake. Okay, now here's the question. Can I do detailed work on the palm without accidentally putting my hand here and wrecking the back of the hand? That is the question. Come on. Go to your home. There we go. Okay, best tool to get this down, it's maybe this little rubber guy. Oh, actually, probably work great. Just to put a little bit of, just record this. Put a little bit of liquid clay down. This is essentially polymer glue. And that will help to keep it in place while I'm blending it on, and also just make sure it stays really well afterwards. And ideally a brand like this, it would be kind of pulling the skin tight, or it would be creating its own anchor point on the surface of the skin. And so if I was on the ball, I would have sculpted it in while I was doing the rest of the skin, so that I could have pulled that kind of tension in the right direction all around it. But I was not good enough to pull it off this time. I just forgot about this feature that I wanted to have on it. But given that the only way anyone will see this is with a mirror and a flashlight, or by picking up my sculpture and flipping it over, I am not overly concerned about it. So I have some of the liquid clay actually mixed in to this piece of clay I'm trying to get to stick. I was hoping that would make it stick to the other clay better, but it seems to just be making it want to stick to my tool more. Okay, there's a 2. This will be a 0. Trying to make the date kind of look like this whole thing. I kind of want it to look like a magical sigil of some sort. One. And a 7. Wow, suddenly I can't remember which way a 7 goes. Okay. More or less, there's a signature and a date. Josh Foreman, 2017. This might be the last piece that I do in 2017. Okay. Now I did manage to squash a little bit of area up here. Gotta fix that. So few areas I can hold now that it's got nails on it. Something on the palm and the whole back of the hand. Good. Are we good? I think what I'm going to do is let it sit overnight and come back to it and look at it with fresh eyes tomorrow. Which means I need to cover it so dust won't ruin it. Final check here. Yeah, I think I can probably fix up anything I don't like about this after it's baked with just an X-Acto knife. Yeah. All right. Alright guys, well thanks for coming by this live stream. Did I have something I needed to say? I don't think so. Next live stream, I'll either be finishing this guy's little helmet or doing painting on him. We'll see how much I'm able to do between streams. But yeah, thanks for stopping by, everyone. See you next time. And I need a catchphrase for when I'm done with stuff. Please, please submit your catchphrases. See you guys later. Bye.